Good morning and welcome to the Peak District National Park. This morning we're heading down to the Hope Valley, where we're going to find 3 stories from one village. That's the mission today. It's quite an autumnal field this morning, and the hills in the distance are looking really moody. Now this little place is called Fox House, and it's hard to believe we're just a couple of miles away from busy Sheffield. Just around this bend and over the bridge on the right, there's a rock there called Toad's Mouth, which has been a landmark for years, and that sort of marks the boundary between Derbyshire and Yorkshire. And here we are, look, going back into Derbyshire. And another famous spot here, this is called Surprise View. When we get round this corner, past these people on the rocks, you'll see exactly why. There we are, looking right up the Hope Valley. So welcome to Surprise View. Now behind me is moorland and the road back over the hills to Sheffield. But if we turn round and have a look over there, you'll see why this place gets its name. Look there, right up the valley to Hope, Castleton, Mamtor, and over the hills in the distance is Manchester. Have to be a little bit careful up here. There are 1 or 2 rather steep drops. Hundreds of thousands of people visit Hathersage each year to enjoy walking and climbing. It was also once famously visited by Charlotte Bronte. It's a beautiful spot, but today we're here to learn about traffic lights, an outlaw, and tragedies related to the record industry. Here at the Riverside Cafe in Hathersage, you'll find all sorts of unusual items on the menu, but they're not as surprising as the surroundings here. Some of the items here tell the story of a man who went from designing teaspoons to making all of our towns and cities tidier, safer, and smarter places in which to live and work. But when David looked out of his workshop window, what he saw inspired him to come up with a series of revolutionary designs for our streets. Take those traffic lights for instance. The Ministry of Transport, they set David with the task of redesigning an outdated system which was struggling to come to terms with a big increase in vehicle numbers. And his design of the red, amber and green signals and pedestrian crossing lights that we all recognise was down to David, and it's been standard throughout the UK since 1965. It's estimated that there are some 25,000 sets of his lights in use to this day. But David didn't stop there. He designed this abacus bus shelter. He designed traffic bollards. He designed litter bins. He designed this abacus street lighting column made out of tubular steel. He designed these heavy-duty outdoor seats for parks and other open spaces. But not everything worked out for David. He did have a little failure with this. He'd been asked to redesign the circular GPO boxes which have been around our streets since 1869. He designed this square pillar box to improve efficiency, but a letter in the Scotsman newspaper said that the new sharp-edged pillar boxes posed a real hazard to drunks. So here outside the country shop at the David Mellor cutlery factory in Hathersage, you can see all these items on display. I think my favourite is the yellow bin. I remember those all over Sheffield, and I'm told 2 or 3 of them still survive. Right, we've walked up into the centre of Hathersage now, where it's a little bit busier, but no less beautiful. That old sign up there. Open air swimming pool. If only I brought my speedos. Another wonderful garden here. Let's have a look and see what we can find up in the centre of Hathersage. The Old George Hotel. I think that's where Charlotte Bronte stayed when she came here. I mentioned about walkers and hikers coming here. There's one big outdoor shop there and another one here just across the road. Now this little spot is called the Heart of Hathersage. And it's lovely and peaceful despite all the cars going by. Another notice board full of contact information for organisations and groups. Now here's a Swiss bar and restaurant called Bank House. I've been in there before, but in those days it was a bank. Well, the coffee mission has been accomplished. We're not in Hathersage to inspect gardens today, but I can't resist sharing these with you. Look how beautiful these are. Let's visit a grave where the man who is buried never existed. Or did he? Legendary outlaw Robin Hood famously had a band of merry men, including Friar Tuck, Will Scarlet and Maid Marian. They all helped their boss rob the rich in order to give to the poor. but his most famous lieutenant was a giant of a man, standing at more than 7 feet tall. According to legend, Little John was a master archer and a formidable opponent with a quarterstaff. St Michael's Church stands overlooking Hathersage, and in the churchyard, just around the corner from here, is an imposing grave. It's around 8 feet long. Let's go and have a look. And here it is. Wow, what a huge grave. Let's see what he says on the headstone. Here lies buried Little John, the friend and lieutenant of Robin Hood. He died in a cottage now destroyed to the east of the churchyard. The grave is marked by this old headstone and footstone, and it's underneath this old yew tree. Now look at the length of this grave. Now this grave was exhumed in 1784 and they discovered a whopping thigh bone 30 inches long. The grave is free to see, but here's something that takes you back to the 70s and 80s. An old parking meter has been converted and now you can leave donations for the upkeep of the church and the churchyard. So is the legend of Little John a fictitious one, or did all those adventures of Robin Hood and his merry men really happen? Make up your own mind. I'm going to have a good think about it over a pint. We're going to complete our visit to Hathersage today with a tragic tale and a story which is hardly believable in such a picturesque place. Come to Derbyshire and enjoy the clean air. Well, sadly it wasn't always the case in this corner of the county. Back in the 18th and 19th century, if you lived or worked here in Hathersage, you could have ended up dying very young indeed. And a very unpleasant death it might have been too. It was much to do with the newfangled gramophone players. The process of wire drawing took place beside the river, right in the heart of Hathersage, and with it came the trade of needle and pin grinding. The tough local millstone grit rock was perfect for this practice. When people bought their new wind-up gramophones, they needed sharp needles in order to play their favourite records. That meant much more work for the people here in Hathersage. Needles produced here at Barnfield Mill in their presentation boxes went on show at the Paris exhibition in 1851. It all sounds good news so far. So where does the tragedy come in? Well, sharpening needles to a fine point on a grindstone was so dangerous that needle grinders were given a life expectancy of just 10 years from starting out in their jobs. The whole village paid a price, with the grimy, dust-laden air carrying minute metal particles which ate into the stone of the buildings, and also, of course, the throats and lungs of local people. Those who lived on higher ground were the fortunate ones. Down this lane at Barnfield Works, at one stage there were 100 employees, some of them children, and a 9-year-old girl once told the Children's Employment Commission in 1862 that she worked shaping umbrella ribs from 6 AM until 7 PM. Here we are a little bit further along the street in Hathersage at a place called the Music Mill. Now today it's a really smart single-storey holiday home nestled beside the river. Built in 1820, it's thought it might have been the very first place in Britain and possibly the world to manufacture gramophone needles. So this little building here played its part in bringing recorded music to the world.